Welcome to the Newcomer Network at your Multicultural channel. My name is Jocelyn Gilbert, and I am very happy to share with you another interesting topic today. I have Nataly Ponce. She's a wonderful friend, and both we will be talking about mental health and how we as newcomers experience this challenge. Hi, Nataly. How are you?
Hi, Jocelyn. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited too and so happy to just be able to join this space and share about our experiences. So thank you so much for having me here.
I am so happy to share this space with you and with that very important topic for our newcomer community.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a very important topic, as you and me know, and it's very interesting. We were talking a little bit about it before, how we got to connect and how this topic actually is what led us to connect through social media. And then after a while, we were able to meet in person. But not only as immigrants, we just know for our own experiences how important mental health is. And yeah, it's just awesome when you're able to have those conversations with friends.
Yeah, and with someone who is really interested. Because, I always talk about mental health. It's something that not many people are interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I started creating content 3 years ago content for newcomers, I remember that we had few topics, and those were the videos that people watched the least. And I think this should be the priority when you are planning to migrate to another country.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that mental health is a very broad topic. And I think it's one of those things that you either have experienced it and that's why it becomes important in your life and you try to be an advocate for it and you try to share it with the other people around you. Or, like you said, you don't feel that it's that important because you haven't been through it. You don't have any experience with yourself or people close to you. And so you don't think that it matters. You don't think that you should know about it. And especially, like you said, as immigrants going to another country, here in Canada, as we're here, but even going to any other country, it should be like within the immigration process and within all the checklists that you have to do, like for paperwork or like, all the forms you have to fill out and getting everything ready to leave, it should be like one of their priorities. It's just not talked about enough. But so, yeah, now I think that a lot of people unfortunately, have been facing mental health issues and just having to experience it themselves. So that's why you hear more about these conversations and you can hear more people talking about it. And yeah, it's just something that people really need to hear about it.
Yeah. And back in my country, there's not that mental health education and awareness. I want to share with you, I don't know if I have done it before. When I started university here, I was not feeling well. I was feeling palpitations. Back in Dominican Republic, I used to have those episodes, and my doctor sent me to the cardiologist and check my blood pressure and check everything, but that was normal for me. I remember when I woke up, I used to tell my husband, or not to tell because I was not able even to talk. I was like, when I did like that, he noticed something was happening to me, so he got used to it. And when I had my first, that this is a panic attack, when I had my first one in here, it was at university, and I tell my teacher, oh, I'm sorry, I cannot speak that much. I'm not feeling well. And she asked me, and I told her. She immediately, she recognized I was having a panic attack. And I have never in my life heard about that word. And when I got home, because she told me, oh, you're having a panic attack. And I checked, I Googled everything. I realized I was experiencing issues with my mental health, having constant panic attacks. And this is because I didn't have that awareness. And And that's the good thing that we can identify. We have lots of resources here,
Yeah.
but this is a challenge.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Here, maybe because it's a first world country, maybe because mental health issues are more common. I don't know if that's like statistically that's a thing, but I remember when I was because I think we've been here for almost the same time. Yeah. So I remember when I was in college too, they had this like mental health as a topic, and there's like a big campaign here in Canada with one of the service carriers, Bell, and they like what's Bell, Let's Talk, and it's a specific day for people to like write down how they're feeling or how they would like to get involved into helping others and that kind of thing. And I thought that was so cool and that was so important because same in Ecuador, like you said, there's nothing, or at least back then, like 5+ years ago, that wasn't something that you would hear about or just kind of like out in the open, like in public. And for me, mental health issues wasn't something that I've ever experienced. And when I came here and I kind of like started to pick on those cues and just realizing that something wasn't right, like there was something off, like things that I didn't feel before, like lack of energy, wanting to cry all the time, or, you know, just those things. It wasn't only because, oh, I'm away from my country or I'm away from, you know, not my family, because my family was here with me, my husband and my kids, but like from my friends, from my parents, that kind of stuff. But other like physical symptoms. So like my hair started to fall a lot. I started to have like breakouts, which I didn't really get, not even as a teenager. And so one of the first things for me was that I got told about vitamin D, which is something that back in our countries, because we're exposed to sun all year long, I've never heard of it. Like it's not one of those like supplements that doctors send you or anything. And when the doctors sent me to have like blood tests done to see how it was like in my levels, I was borderline like severe deficit. And she said, this is one of the reasons why you've been feeling like this is one of the reasons of all these other symptoms. And so that's one of the things that I'm sure you've been through, you've talked to your doctor, or you've advised other people like newcomers and immigrants, take your vitamin D because it just plays such an important role. So those are things that you don't pay attention to and that you're not aware of and that you don't have in mind until you go through that. And then you're like, oh, that's very important.
Yeah, no, and I went through that back in my country, but because I didn't have the awareness, I didn't understand, I thought it was something normal. Like I was sleepy all the time. Mm-hmm. I was having palpitations in the morning, and nobody told me that. And I realized just in here. And this is why I consider this is a very important topic, because there are so many challenges, so many changes when you move to another country. We have an episode where we discussed about the challenges of being a newcomer, and all those challenges plus mental health issues, or sometimes those challenges cause those mental health.
Yeah, it's like an never-ending circle. It's like if you're not fully aware of what's going on, you're just going to keep repeating them and not being able to even seek for help because you're not aware that there's something wrong. You're kind of like an autopilot. You just do things and they become part of your routine, and it's a mess.
Yeah. There are so many things that interfere with that. And the changes, isolation, culture, different culture, language barrier, sometimes even, and we would like to discuss about that, the winter depression or seasonal depression, that it's very common here. And we think we never will experience it, but we can.
Yeah.
So we need to be aware of that.
Yeah. As we were saying that, you have no idea about when you're not an immigrant, like when you're in your country, and even when you plan on immigrating. At least for me, I think that now, like different from 5 years ago, which is when I came, there's so much more information about everything related to immigrating to Canada specifically. And seasonal affective depression disorder, it's one of the things that people talk about now. At least you are going to find information about it. But before I came, when I was doing my immigration process, I didn't even think of that being important, or researching or looking up information about it. Nothing. I think that if that would have been mentioned before, when I was researching about coming to Canada and everything, I would have been more aware of, oh, that's a possibility. Let's try to see things that we can do to try to avoid it or to manage it if it happens to us. But I had no idea, like, at all whatsoever.
Yeah, you know what? I would like you to share your experience, maybe not going too deep, but to show the people, because we have a wonderful audience here who are always checking on our videos. So for them to understand how important, because sometimes it's not that I'm having panic attacks, or it's not that I'm having headaches, constant headaches. It's that it can grow bigger and bigger and affect everything in your life.
Everything.
Would you like to share with us your story?
Sure. Like I said before, I think when you've been through something like this that affects you so deeply and it just takes over pretty much your whole life, being able to heal about that and being able to just kind of like find an answer and try to do something about it, it's also sharing with others and become an advocate for that. So yeah, 2 years ago, with all these symptoms that I've had for years now, like the first 3 years I didn't pay attention to, and they just became like increasingly intense and stronger, like crying all the time, and like that lack of energy, totally not wanting to like wake out of bed, and just being super like mad about everything all the time, which is not something that I was normally like, or not part of my personality. But like my husband and my kids and even my parents back home would notice like that something was not like it used to, and it was not something good. And I started to notice that myself. So I started doing therapy with my psychologist back home, like online. And after some time, when things got a bit more, like they got worse than they were.
How did it start?
How did it start? I think, let me remember. Okay, so I had an episode that was pretty bad where I tried to hurt myself. And for me, that was like rock bottom, because it just felt so out of anything that I've experienced before. And that's when I decided to seek for help. So it was, like I said, something so hard for me. It was literally kind of like I went numb, but at the same time, I felt so overwhelmed with those super intense emotions that were not like good. Like it didn't feel good in my body, that I tried to hurt myself. And so that was like, I talked to my sister and she said, you know, she's been doing therapy for a longer time than I have. So she's like, okay, this is not right. You need to seek for therapy and we need to figure out why this is happening to you. And so that's when I reach out to the psychologist that I have. I've been with her for 2 years now, a little bit over 2 years. And then we started to do a process. I think in the beginning was every week. And we were together for like a year. Then I remember I made a pause. My parents came that year for Christmas after COVID. So I didn't see them for 2 years. And then they came, they spent the holidays with us and they stayed for a couple months. And so the time they were here, I took a break from therapy because I felt better and, you know, they were going to be there with me staying. So and my psychologist was okay with it. But then it took longer for me to restart therapy once they were gone, like longer than I would have thought. And then I started to kind of like feel that I was falling into that dark hole again. And so I'm like, okay, no, I need to go back to her because I can't do it by myself. And it felt more intense even. And so after a while of like having therapy with her, and we kind of like approached the natural way first. whereas I had like a different appointment with another doctor that wouldn't give you medicine right away, but would take a different approach. So I tried that for a little bit, and it didn't really make a difference. And things kept getting worse as I was feeling like super unmotivated. I was just super upset, either angry or crying sad, and just like not really wanting to share with my family, withdrawing from talking to people like my friends or social media, or I just didn't want to. I think there was a period of time where I really didn't even want to like exist. So it was that bad.
Was that, did you experience something similar before or at the beginning, before you came here? Or you think something happened here that caused that to happen to you?
So it was nothing like I've experienced before coming here, or even in the first 3 years. And then with therapy, I learned that I didn't do migration grief. Like, it's a process, and like psychologists talk about it. There's like steps or levels that you have to go through, you have to be aware of when you go through this grief of leaving your country, leaving everything you know, everyone you know, going to a new country with a new culture, with another language. Feel that you're taking if you have children, that you're taking your children away from being able to grow up with their grandparents, so all these things that grief does. And I wasn't aware of that at all. I didn't know about that. I didn't know. And ignoring it for so long, because it was 3 years, I always say it took a toll on me. So after that time, it wasn't just my heart or emotionally, but my body started to showing that something was not right. And so, like I said, we were having this approach with this doctor, but then it didn't really work. So that's when my psychologist said, okay, I think that we need to start contemplating medication, because your brain just needs an extra boost to produce those substances that you normally do, but he's not been able to do it right now. And with my family doctor here and another doctor in Ecuador, also like online, they prescribed me with medicine that I've been taking for like 2 years now. And I was super afraid, because also that's a big stigma for mental health. But sometimes it's there like for you to use it because your body really needs it. And it's just, again, same as with anything related to mental health. It's only about knowing it and learning about it. Normally that fear comes from not really having information and not knowing about it. It's been a journey for me so far, and I've learned so much about myself. And we've talked about this so many times, because like I said, it's something we share that we can relate to each other. But I think last year is the first year I've started to feel like myself again. And it's just much more easy to live life and enjoy and be grateful when your spirit and your mind and your mental health and everything, it's in a better place. You can see more clearly.
Yeah. When we come to Canada, we should feel happy because we reach our goal.
Yeah.
We reached it.
Yeah. We wanted it, so
you
don't
wanted
complain.
It? Why you have to complain?
Yeah.
You should be happy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very cold. No, but you should be happy.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel sad because I miss your family. Yes, but you wanted to migrate.
Yeah.
So it's that we are focused on all the positive things and because we have the grief, but we also have the exciting part.
Yes.
That celebrating that we are here, but inside we have a grief. We miss our family. We don't have the same position at work. We are not used to have someone asking us what to do. We are independent. We were independent, that we depend on others. We had our cars that now we have to take the bus. Even if you buy the car immediately, you don't have 2 cars at home.
Yeah.
So someone has to drive to take the bus.
Yeah.
And there are so many things that we experience, but we should be happy. Yeah. We should enjoy. We should see the positive things, and I hear people who tell me, don't tell me the negative. Just tell me the positive things. I'm not talking about the challenges because I want you to be scared or I want you to move back from your decision to come to Canada. I'm telling about those challenges because we need to be ready for that.
Yes, totally.
We need to know which things are going to be different and sometimes hurt us.
Yeah, and I think it's even better, like in your case, you've built such an awesome community through your social media and all the things that you do, that having someone you trust and that you feel almost that you've known for a longer time to tell you about all these, like the real life, not only the good things and like the pink butterflies and unicorns, but like how it really is. It's better than having to hear it from just strangers, like someone you don't, like if you watch a video on YouTube, but you haven't really had any contact with that person, you know, there's always going to be that like, oh, is she saying the truth? Like, is she not? But if you are able to build that trust with that person, like through your social media or, you know, and just this person, you know, she tells it how it is, then it's easier to make it a part of, okay, this is important. So I'm going to take this information and I'm going to use it for my benefit. And then one thing that I like to mention, because for me, it was a big trigger, and we've talked about this too before, for everything that happened and that unveiled my mental health conditions was my previous work that I had, and how that work environment, if it's not the optimum one, and if it's not the one that fulfills your soul and that makes you happy, it can just like bring everything down. Because as immigrants, we kind of like take whatever job we need to take, you know, for getting our PR or, you know, just for our permits or whatever. And yes, it's many times you don't really have an option. You don't have a choice. But I always tell now, like, if you feel that you're reaching that like point or level where you are not feeling happy, like you're dreading going to work every morning, you really don't like to be there, like do something about it. If you're able to, try to find another option, another employer, try to see another, something else you could do, because staying there for too long, that's just going to do bad things for your mental health.
Yeah.
We know about it.
Sometimes we don't have any other option.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have just 6 months to apply for professional mini programs.
It's very tricky.
Like,
yeah.
You know, it's kind of complicated. It's kind of complicated. And something that I hear very frequent, it's, okay, I go to Canada, I can do anything. I can wash the
dishes.
Washrooms, I can clean houses. I can do anything. I don't mind. And yes, but it's not the same when you think about it, that when you have to do it and you know that you have to stay there for 2 years.
Yeah.
Because you cannot change.
Yeah.
You cannot find another job. You know, you could find it, but then all the progress is going to be
gone. It's not going to be worth it. Yeah.
Go back.
Yeah.
So it's kind of complicated. So it's better if we are ready and understand that this can happen to us. So go to therapy before.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that, because I remember when I started working, I was not working for someone else for many years. So it was challenging.
Like back home. Yeah.
Because I had my own company, you know, and I was doing a lot of things. So when everything was taken away from me, I was with my empty hands. And, you know, for me, my work was a very important part of my life back in my country. So for me, it was my work. But for some other people, could be their parents, or could be the weather, or could be their independence. You know, we need to understand that when we migrate, something it's going to happen, you know, and we need to be ready for that.
Yeah, totally. Changes are going to happen, and yeah, you have to be ready for them. Just having that mindset that having flexibility is important, that if you have to be in a specific work for a specific period of time, things can change later. You can do so many more things maybe that you can do in your country. You just have to be creative. One of the most important things that I've learned here is that you are able to reinvent yourself.
Oh, I was gonna talk to you about that.
We're connected.
Something that saved my life. And for those people who are watching the Newcomers Network for the first time, they don't know about my audience, about my connections and my network. I create content for social media, so there are so many people who contact me every day and see my life, and we have a relationship already.
Yeah.
So I think that this is something that, and I would like you to share with the audience also your experience, but something that I think it saved my life was social media, because I started my blog as it was a food blog at the beginning.
Yeah, I remember.
And I saw how the community started growing, 500, 1,000. And when everything changed, like we switched to Newcomers content creation, I said, oh, I can do something important, because I felt that what I was doing here was not important.
Like you found your purpose.
Yeah. So I found, I started finding my purpose and feeling happy and feeling that I was achieving something. So that helped me.
Yeah.
I don't know in your case.
Keep your goal of why you came, and it doesn't make it like, oh, because if you have a goal, then everything you have to be like, I don't know if you've heard the term toxic positivity. Like you just feel everything's good. Oh, you have to look at the bright side all the time. Nothing is bad. Like, no, like you do it a lot. You say things as they are. Not everything's perfect, but I think that if you keep your goal and you have a mindset of, okay, what can we do about this that it's making me feel not okay, then it's better. It just makes things better.
Yeah. And it is important to have that awareness, that mental health awareness, because when you start struggling with very little things, such as my head is hurting every Monday, or I'm having palpitations, or I feel sad but I don't have any issue, but it's happening constantly. Something is happening. So what should I do? So it's important to see those signs for us to work immediately. And something that you said, and find a purpose. I'm glad we find our purpose.
And we found each other, so double high five for that.
And some people challenge to find someone because they feel afraid of being judged.
Yeah, totally. I think for me, one of the biggest realizations lately, especially in this last year, was it's harder to make friends as an adult than when you're younger or a kid. Like in my younger years, because we're never old, we're just older, but never old. But in my younger years, and now looking at the kids that I work with every day, it's easier to make friends. You kind of just like more spontaneously find something that you connect with, and then you just use that as a way to become friends, and that's it. So I don't know, like you can share how you are feeling. I think it's also, you're so well known and famous in our community here in Manitoba. But making those connections is not always easy, because like you said, you might feel that people are either judging you, or you become like more self-aware, or are they gonna like me, or am I good enough?
Are they gonna judge me?
Yeah, exactly. And that's definitely, to me, that was one of the things that also, through my mental health part where I was not okay, it just made me self-doubt myself so much. And part of my personality, I've always been very sociable. So that was a big conflict that I had with myself, because I, at the same time that have always been very sociable, I didn't want to interact with other people, or it gave me anxiety, which I learned later that it was anxiety because I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety when I started to see all the symptoms that we were talking about. And then I learned like, oh, that's why. Like it just gave me like palpitations, and it just made me like super like a hole in my stomach, and like, you know, all these symptoms when meeting other people. And that never happened before to me ever. Like I was super, it's always been easy for me to communicate and just like make contact with people and just like become friends, and, you know, but yeah, so I don't know how, it's also different doing it through social media than actually like one-on-one. How it was for you? How was it for you?
You know, I never talk about that, like with details. I remember when I discovered, I created a video when I contacted a few people who were willing to talk about that topic, because not everybody likes it, or nobody struggled with that. So I remember that we had two topics. One was about seasonal affective disorder, and I saw just a few people wanted to watch the video. And then I had another collaboration with two other content creators, and nobody paid attention to that. But I didn't talk that much about it. And still, I don't talk about my situation, because I can see in our community that people are not good listeners, but they are excellent advisors.
Yeah, that's so true.
And sometimes it helps when you listen, or it helps me when I can express what I feel, rather than listening to you telling me what I should do.
True.
And we are awesome advisors. So and you said something. I have a lot of connections. You have many connections. You are popular. You have many friends. But you have a friend to talk about the children. You have a friend to talk about work. You have a friend to talk about your beliefs. But a friend to talk about those topics, it's challenging, because you don't like people to tell you what to do. And something that I have learned is that the medicine that works for you, it's not the one that is going to help me. When you are trying to help me, you are doing the opposite. This is what I feel. So for this reason, I don't usually talk that much about my experience. However, I encourage the people to be aware about mental health issues that they can face.
Yeah, and you said one very important thing right now. You kind of have different friends that you talked about different things, that you connect with about things. It's not the same also listening to someone, even though you really like that person, like say the people that follow you on social media. And mental health videos and talking about that, it's not something people are really interested in. So it's okay if you don't want to kind of like consume that content, that's okay. But find someone that you're able to talk about. Like we talk about it. Like we message each other, and whenever we see each other, we talk about it, because we can relate to each other on that, because we've been through that and we are experiencing that. So if people don't want to watch the videos about it, or just like an influencer or someone just that they don't know talking about that, find someone, like as an immigrant, find someone, become friends with someone, trust someone that you're able to talk about the things that are feeling heavy in your heart and in your mind, because just talking, it's going to make it feel lighter. Just sharing, it's going to help you heal. And just seek out, like that's part of seeking out for help, because you're able to say it out loud and expressing, instead of thinking that you need to hold it inside, because like you said, oh no, you decided to come, then you are, responsible for it, and you're not supposed to complain. That's not okay. So no, you always need someone to be able to feel comfortable enough, because it's a very personal issue and matter. But if you find someone, like we found each other, do it, because it's very important.
Yeah, but the awareness is very important, not only for the people who might face that situation, but also for the other people. Because you might be okay, and I have been challenging with some situations. So you should know how to face when someone comes and talks to you about something that this person is struggling with.
Yeah.
So instead of giving those advices, listen.
Just listen. Yeah.
Just listen.
So important.
Yeah.
So listen. Yeah.
We need to know what to do in any cases.
Yes.
Yeah.
When someone comes to you and wants to talk about how they're feeling, and if they start to think that things are not okay and that there's something going on, just like you said, listening, it's a very important part of it, because that might be the only thing the other person needs you to do. They don't want any advice. They're not coming to you for like getting lectured on and saying, you know, the typical, oh, it's going to be okay. Just think about the positive things, all the blessings that you have. Like, yeah, that person might be very aware of all the blessings that they have. You know, if they're believers, exactly, if they're believers, if not, that it doesn't take it away how they're feeling inside. You know, they might be feeling broken. They might be feeling with no purpose in life. You know, there's this phrase that goes, this saying that goes, everyone's battling their own battles. Like, you don't know what the other person's going through.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can, I've learned this, something as simple as if someone comes and starts to say things and sharing about what they're feeling and what they're going through, something just like, okay, do you want me to just listen to you, or do you want my advice? And that person's going to tell you, no, I just needed someone to talk to listen to me, or what do you think? Like, what's your advice? And then you can give your opinion.
And you know what I have discovered also, that when someone, because we are coming from a culture that, because we are advisors, we like advice. So something that I have learned is that when someone comes to you, they really want you to listen, but they ask you for an advice. So you could ask a question that makes that person to reflect on its own or their own experience and bring up the solution. Because sometimes they know what they need.
They just need someone to push it.
Yeah. So instead of, okay, you do this because that helps me, you can ask a question. I know this is a skill that you have to develop, but it helps.
You know why you know that? Because you work with kids. You use that with kids. You don't do things for them. You try to push them, like you said, reflecting, for them to reflect on, okay, what do you think you should do about this? Or like, what do you think is going to help you solve the problem?
Yeah, and there are so many resources here. When you said at the beginning that the diagnosis or the numbers are higher here, I don't think the numbers are higher here for some specific reasons. I think the numbers are higher because people are aware of these symptoms and they go to doctors. But as I mentioned, I was struggling for a long time, and I didn't imagine if I go to the doctor, I might be diagnosed with something or had been referred to therapy, but I didn't. So that's why we don't see those numbers very high in our country.
Yeah.
But because this is human, this is something that we come with that.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that people are more free, like they express themselves in a more open way where they're not afraid. You know, that I think one of the main difference we see in like between Latin American culture and North American, not to say only Canadian culture, is that people are less, they care less about what others are going to say, like here. So whereas for us as Latin Americans, we are more
we just bring it up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one of the reasons, but you're right. Being just self-aware of what feels good for you. And then if something's starting to show too frequently not feeling okay and things that you're like, oh, this is a little off, then seeking out for help. Because being aware of yourself, it's going to also help you seek for help and do something about it.
Yeah, so seek for help.
Yes.
Make connections.
Make connections. Take
vitamin D.
Take your vitamin D, please, please, please. If you're not right, if you're new to Canada, and you have a family doctor and you think that, you might be off, then just start taking it right away. But if you haven't, then just ask for some blood work testing, and then they're going to tell you what's your level and how much you need to take.
Be prepared.
Be prepared.
Just in case that happens.
Yes. Make friends, make connections, like you said.
If you are a friend, listen.
Yes, please listen. But yeah, try to find things that make you happy. And it can be as little as going for a walk. It can be as little as going for coffee with a friend. It can be as little as, I don't know, getting your favorite food. But just these things that on a daily basis, when you add them up, it's not a little thing anymore. It's like a big thing. It just, they can definitely make the difference.
Yeah. Natty, thank you so much for coming with us.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed that time.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been an awesome chatting, just like you and me chatting as friends as we used to.
So now we have to start sharing this video with so many people and have them fall in love with this topic, because sometimes people are like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to hear about that. I don't need that.
Mental health is health. Take care of your mind, your body, and your soul, because everything's connected. So that's important.
Yeah. Thank you, Natty, so much.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
And thank you once again to our wonderful audience for being there with us. See you next time. And don't forget to follow us on social media, Multicultural channel and La Paila Canada. Thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.